Hi, my name is Dylan, and this is it. This is my demo for Lab 4 of 6122. And currently, I am residing in the build directory of the SFML master library. So let's first begin by compiling, and with that, I'm going to run the command make. So we can successfully compile. Now let's try to create a server. So I'm going to run this executable TCP server. And let's first try to cover all of the invalid test cases. So first, let's put in, for our port number, let's put in a string, non-numeric value, say hello. And it'll say the program outputs that it is an incorrect, invalid command line argument. And it'll tell you to check your values and then press enter to end the program. So we press enter, we end the program. Now let's do another case where we do have like a negative, or let's first do out of bounds. Let's put in a really, really large number. It detects that. Press enter to end the program. Alright, now let's put in a negative value. Let's call it like negative 62021. And it detects that as well because that is a non-positive value. So click enter. So we've covered all the cases. Now let's see what happens when we enter a valid port number that exists within the valid bounds. So now it says that the server is listening to the port and now it's waiting for connections. So let's make a new terminal window and now let's run, now let's try to create a client. But first let's try to cover all of the test cases like we did in the server. So first let's make a string, let's call it candy. Alright, detects that. Now let's do an out of bounds. So let's do something like that. Ooh. Enter. Now let's do a negative value, negative 62021. It detects that. Now let's put in a correct port number. Actually, let's first remove the port number and only have the local host. As you can see that it detects that there is missing port number and that the you don't have enough command line arguments. So now let's put in a real port number and let's connect to a really, really funky server. Let's call it something like this. And as you can see, it says failed to connect to the server. Please check your values and press enter to end the program. Alright, so we've covered all the cases. Now let's have a correct server called localhost and we'll connect to a correct port number 62021. So click enter and as you can see, we connected to the server and it'll prompt you to enter a message. Within this, having created a server and a client, we have created a server log file that exists within this TCP server folder. So let's open that up. As you can see that a client connected and that was as a result of the fact that we just connected to it. Now let's type in a message. Let's say client 1 is here and the server log file updates in real time. Let's type in another message so that we know that we can type in multiple messages from one client. So client 1 is cool. As you can see, it updated. Now it says client 1 is cool. So now that we have one client, let's make another window and create a second client. So let's run the executable client, TCP client, we'll call it localhost, port number 62021. So we connected. And as you can see, it says that the client connected. Now let's say client 2 is also here. Whoops. Client 2 is also here. And as you can see, client 2 is here as well. Now let's type in another message just to clarify that we can send multiple messages. Client 1, client 2 will always be here. Okay, so as you can see, we can send multiple messages from each client. So now let's keep going and make a third client. Alright. Okay. So as you can see, the client connected. Now let's say client 3 is in the building. As you can see, it updated. Now let's do fourth client. So let's say client 4 has arrived. Now let's make a fifth client. We'll say client 5 made it. Okay, so we can see that all of our clients, we can make 5 clients and all of them can send messages. Yay! Now let's see what happens when we disconnect one of the clients. So here, say we disconnect client 5, and as you can see in the server, it'll say that the client has disconnected. And now let's see what happens when we reconnect. So we reconnected to the server in the port number, and it shows up here right in the server log file. And again, we can type messages like client 5 never left, and it'll show up in the server log file. So let's also have a scenario where we have multiple clients disconnected. Okay, so let's do 5 and 3. The multiple clients disconnected. We can still send messages like from client 2. Client 2 still here. It updated. Now let's bring back 5. Client connected, and client 3 came back. Alright. And let's bring back client 5. Keep coming back. Alright. So as you can see, our server log file updates in real time, and we can have any client disconnect and reconnect back, and they'll still be able to write to the server log file. And whenever one connects, it'll show up in the log file, and when it disconnects, it'll show up in the log file. So this is my demo, and that concludes this video and testing my TCP socket program. Thank you. Bye.